so like I mentioned, Questflex is our as-a-service approach and our way to meet the clients where they are. So when people ask us, hey, what's a differentiator for Quest? How do you guys do things different? What's kind of a unique angle for what you guys do? Oftentimes, and more often than not, Questflex is the conversation we're leading forward. So want to jump into it. Again, we created these boot camps for our partners. One of the things, we go to national advisory councils, we sit on boards, we're part of the channel. We've been in here for about 16 years now, since 2010, working with the trusted advisor community and the technology community, helping organizations execute for their clients. And one of the things you guys told us is, hey, we want training. We want to understand what makes you guys different. We want to help us grow our base, help grow our revenue. So we put together these bootcamp series. If you like them, if you think someone can gain value from it in your community or in your network, please like them, please share them. They're available in full recording on our partner and our partner website as well. So if you go to the partner tab on our website, you can access that. Streaming live on YouTube anytime you want to see them. So today we're going to be covering Questflex and how you can kind of change the sales conversation, right? We all talk about outcome-based selling, understanding the results they're looking for. Questflex gives you the ability to get to that outcome-based selling very, very quickly. Having those capability discussions, okay? It's going to unlock the idea of what they're trying to solve with the technology. What are they actually trying to achieve? And what we want to cover today with you is when Questflex is the right fit, and also more importantly, hey, when it's not. There's nothing more uncomfortable than coming into an opportunity and trying to pre-position a solution that maybe isn't the right fit. So we're going to kind of teach you how to look for that and how to identify when it's the right fit, maybe when it's wrong. And then how do we put it together? How do we help you as a technology advisor put the solution together to execute for your clients? What you're going to gain today is basically, how to get flexible and understand what your clients are trying to achieve and use the different building blocks that Quest has to execute there. How to discuss with your clients the roles and responsibilities around management, right? What do they want to manage and what do they want to out-task from a management perspective? And then how this gives clients the ability to scale and move in a phased approach. Sometimes organizations have to make massive investments up front in order to accommodate what they're trying to do long term. Questflex was built during a time of economic insecurity for a lot of folks, which allowed organizations to scale at their pace. So I want you guys to recognize the opportunities. We want you to help reframe some of the conversations you're having when appropriate, and then know how to engage our team from a design and execution standpoint. So it's an as-a-service offering, and it's a little bit of an unorthodox approach to it. So every client that you're dealing with, again, with all of our boot camps, why are our clients looking for this? Why is it relevant? What does it actually address? And understanding that why is going to be critical to getting the whole Questflex model. So capital spending, how people buy things, CFOs, decision making, how they depreciate assets. All of these decisions are kind of underlying the technology decision. A lot of us spend a lot of our time on webinars and training sessions understanding the tech, but the underpinning of that is the financial aspect of it. How are they actually going to consume it? What's it actually going to address? And how are they making those decisions? So what this is going to do, what Questflex does, is it gives you the ability to move with the technology. So all the building blocks that you have, move with the financial discussion too. So sometimes you can see that procurement, the way that CFOs depreciate assets, the way they get loans and they get any type of a lending vehicle or any type of a leasing vehicle, how they structure all that together is going to ultimately determine what they can buy, how often they can subscribe to it, and basically what they can do there. So the capital and how people are going to outlay capital, there's a saying out there, follow the money. It could determine a lot of the outcomes from sales. It might be a fantastic solution, but if they can't afford it, whether it's a security solution, networking, a data center, a migration to cloud, whatever it is, clients are needing to get more options when it comes to subscribing to these things. So how they want to buy it, how they want to manage it, and how ultimately they're looking to support it going forward. Questflex is going to allow you as the advisor to ask the question, how do you want to consume this? How do you want to support it? And have you looked at options for day two or for capitalizing this purchase? So it gets in the money conversation and the capability conversation, which is a lot of fun. So many clients, are trying to modernize while dealing with their budgets, dealing with who in their teams can actually operate things. And technology is not getting less complex. It's getting more complex. With AI and people vibe coding out there, it's getting even more interesting to see how people are trying to do more with less. And CapEx budgets are not loosening up right now. There's some situations going on in the marketplace that are causing a little bit of challenges, whether that's the AI folks out there buying up everything under the sun that they can get their hands on from a GPU and a compute perspective, to data centers being pretty tight on power and space, and organizations trying to do more with less and less subscriptions, and trying to consolidate that. So where Quest started in the Questflex engagement was back, if you go back about 25 years ago, there was the dot-com boom and bust cycle, right? We saw the stock market rip up, and then about a significant amount of the NASDAQ, I think it lost about 70% in about 60 days, right? Lots of people went through that in different phases of their career. Coming out of that, a lot of organizations' CapEx was locked up. Okay, they could not buy, they did not want to buy, but organizations outside the NASDAQ, brick and mortar, people who just run businesses, trucking companies, logistics, healthcare, all sorts of things like that, they still needed to operate. Okay, the same thing happened in the financial crisis, but the financial crisis hit everybody. The dot-com implosion was mainly focused in the NASDAQ and people who were invested in the NASDAQ and tech stocks. The financial crisis hit everybody. It locked up the whole financial system. It caused a lot of pain. And what we found during that time, 2007 to 2009, was organizations were looking for a way to continue to add infrastructure, continue to add capabilities, but they didn't necessarily have the CapEx budgets or the access to capital to do that. So what Quest started doing was we started providing, and I know this is everything old is new again, right? It's kind of a funny thing. There's organizations in the channel that are acting like network as a service, WAN as a service, Wi-Fi as a service, firewalls as a service, all of these types of things. Everyone's acting like this is kind of a new concept. We've been doing it for 20 years, right? Delivering infrastructure, whether it's routing, security, physical, data center, whatever it is, delivering that platform as a service, because how organizations are trying to buy. And they need to have the confidence that when they buy something, it's going to be consistently delivered and operated for the term that they're trying to subscribe to it. We first got into managed services as an organization, was when an organization we came across bought a bunch of gear from a large manufacturer, and then they lost their main network person, and they didn't know how to operate, manage, maintain, or deploy it. So we got involved from a managed services perspective in '99 for a regional bank that had purchased a lot of hardware. Take that same pain and that same need, but add the idea that now that bank doesn't have the CapEx budget to purchase that network equipment and those security tools to manage their environment and to accommodate regulations coming down. Same concept of pain and trouble where they're looking for help, It just, instead of just being in the operations and the day two support, now they need help actually acquiring it and delivering it as a service in addition to the day two support. So it's very flexible. We can help out with a lot of those types of needs. It can be CapEx limitation. Okay, it could be the idea that they go to market and they see, the menu of options, but they don't necessarily fit in any of those menu of options, and they need to kind of tweak a couple things around the edges. They maybe need help supporting it and delivering it ongoing. And they need confidence that there's an organization that's been here before and has gone through similar economic cycles and come out the other end stronger and growing and continuing to help organizations. So you as a technology advisor, right? You're talking to clients about their communication platform. You're talking to them about their data center. You're talking to them about their next security purchase. You're talking to them about, how maybe they're migrating from on-premise to a private cloud, or from a private cloud to one of the big, Azure, AWS, or GCP, or how they're migrating back from GCP, from Azure, or taking some of their assets from AWS and moving it into a data center because maybe their AI initiatives or some data privacy, whatever it might be. Okay. When you're talking to your clients about whatever the technology is, again, I don't care if it's wireless, firewalls, networks. So if they're going through a network refresh, or you hear something like a campus upgrade, or they got to buy a bunch of new switches, and people pretend that local area networks as a service is a new thing. It's not a new thing. It's not a new thing. Quest has been doing it for 25 years. We know how to purchase hardware. We know how to finance the hardware. We know how to deliver it on a consistent basis. We know how to manage it remotely. And we have a 24/7 operation that does this all the time. This is not a new thing. This has been around a very, very long time. But how do you position yourself to do that? So, when you're talking to your customers, be curious, like always with everything. Hey, some simple questions. Hey, how do you capitalize these large purchases? You're moving to a data center, you're building a data center, you're buying a new core route switch stack, you're purchasing a bunch of firewalls or edge devices or SASE. Again, don't care if it's Palo Alto, Cisco, Cato, Fortinet, whatever the technology is, all good stuff. Hey, Mr. Customer, how are you planning on capitalizing that? How are you planning on purchasing that? Right? Do you want to own that? Or do you want to bring someone in to own the outcome of that purchase? Do you have the resources to manage that? You can go back to the conversation with your clients that 70% of these traditional IT projects fail to meet their stated objective. 70% of them fail to meet their stated objective. And so organizations, maybe this is the opportunity on this refresh cycle to do it a little bit different. Bring someone in who you can have contractual obligations with, a service level agreement, sign on the dotted line saying, these are the responsibilities you as the trusted advisor are talking to your client, these are the responsibilities you're taking on as you read the contract, and these are the responsibilities and the deliverables that Quest is taking on. And you guys, we work together to deliver that outcome for that customer together. So different way of achieving it. Quest has been around coming up on 44 years. Been doing this a very, very long time. We don't get the opportunity to deal with that failure rate that typical organizations deal with when they're trying to roll out, technology initiatives. 70% failure rate does not exist in the MSP world, right? You don't get that many at bats. I'm sorry, it doesn't work. But for some reason, clients accept that when they're dealing with their own in-house offerings and things like that. So another thing to ask is, how do you add that capability? How do you add SASE to your network? How do you add multi-factor authentication, patch management without making it more complex? How do you add ITSM? How do you add management of your desktops, your laptops, your life cycle of your assets? How do you bring someone in to augment that for you without adding more complexity? The last thing any of your clients want to do is pay for pain, right? That self-inflicting wound is worse than just the market shifting under their feet and causing pain. Now they're hurting themselves, right? They buy the new solution, they buy the new CRM, they buy the new Oracle suite of services or SAP or new ERP solution, whatever it is, and they go through the pain train of trying to get all of their systems aligned on their own with a platform that maybe they've never done this with before, or with an organization that isn't tied to the long-term outcome of that. What Questflex does is it puts our organization in lockstep with the outcome the customer is looking for. You document that in a service level agreement, and then you fill in the underlying technology to hit that outcome. It's a game changer when you get to have that discussion, because whatever those building blocks are that you need to hit that outcome, we have the conversation about, okay, we're responsible for this, you're responsible for that. No, I don't want to be responsible for that. I need you guys to take that on. Okay, roger that. Let's reconfigure the service level agreement a little bit. Okay, here's your MRC. And you update that together, moving down the path of not only the technology or the day two support, but the whole thing together. It changes the conversation. And honestly, it takes a little bit of time for your customer to understand that capability, because most of the marketplace wants to sell them one or two pieces of that stack. So it takes some time. So you got to ask those questions, and you got to reiterate a little bit like, well, what if someone owned the outcome with you, right? What if someone owned the outcome with you? Gives you a lot more flexibility. And timing this matters too, right? When is the best time to bring up the idea of a flexible support contract? Or you don't want to force it into someone who's happy with their MSP or happy with their VAR relationship, or they have their internal team and they're good with it, and they like what they're doing, right? That's not the time to bring it up. But there are times where there is some pain, there might be some trouble, and they need some help. One of them is technology refresh, right? We're seeing a lot of organizations. Right now, we're calling it kind of MSP round two. About 5 years ago, MSP became a common engagement model in the middle market. Most of our engagements are in the middle market. Some SMB and some enterprise, but for the bulk of it, it's the middle market. 5 years ago, MSPs became kind of commonplace in the middle market, started getting more and more adoption. What we're seeing right now is round two. Organizations are understanding what MSPs they like and what features of those MSPs maybe they don't like. Something that's changed is a lot of MSPs have been purchased. A lot of them are being rolled up into larger and larger entities. Some clients like that, some clients don't. There's a huge refresh cycle going on right now in the laptop space, in the server space, in the switching space. $1 trillion refresh cycle going on for the next 2 years. A lot of people have kind of stretched that hardware and software, mainly the hardware components, out, and there's a refresh going on. Anybody that's dealing with the VMware world, you're seeing VMware changing the rules as far as what underlying technology and servers can support version 8. So people are not only having to make a decision about the Broadcom renewals, they're also having to make a decision about, okay, what does this mean for my underlying infrastructure? Underlying infrastructure still matters. Servers still matter. CPU counts, clock speeds, all that kind of stuff still matters. And what Quest can do during that is come alongside them and say, okay, here's what a platform as a service under Questflex could look like. Here's how you could consume this as a service, as opposed to going to one organization to buy the hardware, going to another organization to buy the software, going to another organization to put it all together, and then hoping Bob, the IT guy on your team, was paying attention to all those 3 different things at the same time and can operate it for your organization going forward. That's a lot, and it's changing quickly. So technology refresh is a great one. Budget friction, sometimes the budget conversation that everyone wants to avoid is the best time to insert this capability. If there's any type of a, hey, what are you trying to do? Hey, we'd really, really like to do this type of refresh, but we only have capital for, X amount. Let's say that's like 30 or 40% short of what they need to do. What Questflex allows you to do and allows you to bring to the table for your client is the ability to subscribe to a starting block and then incrementally add it on. Okay. Think of it, if you deal with data centers, right? Think of it as like the right of first refusal for that next cabinet. So maybe they don't need all of the servers all at once. Maybe they don't need all of the firewalls all at once. Maybe they don't need all of the wireless access points, or they need all of their residents in a community that gets their wireless systems from them turned on all at once. Maybe they just need incremental changes. Maybe they have some contracts that are coming online and they have a phased ramp approach. No problem. We put together an agreement that says, hey, you want to subscribe to this type of firewall, right? Name the vendor. This type of firewall accomplishes your needs. Oftentimes when you're in the budget friction situation, we had one customer who had a firewall purchase that was going to be deployed to about 80 locations in the United States. They had selected the technology. They were comfortable with the technology vendor. They had gone through the whole process. And then at the last minute, the board said, we cannot afford this full purchase right now. We need to delay it. But their legacy systems were putting them at risk because they were basically out of support, out of sale. They were no longer being supported by the OEM. No patches, no updates. So what we did, and what Questflex allowed us to do for the partner, was say, we'll buy the 80 highly available firewalls. We'll put them on our paper. We'll deliver them as a service across a 5-year time period. The warranties, the support, the break fix, all of that will be supported. So that was the technology and the management side of the equation. But what it did for the budget was that organization did not have enough money to purchase those firewalls in year one. But they had more than enough capital to pay for the subscription for year one, year two, year three, year four, and year five. They could basically manipulate their budget a little bit to extend that. And what Quest did was we accommodated the deployment, the management, the support, and the owning the underlying hardware and delivering that as a service. And what was nice was the customers had already invested in their security operations team. So we provided a co-managed engagement where we provide the underlying infrastructure, we deployed it, we gave them the ability to afford it year one, and then their team helped operate, manage, maintain, and act as their own security teams. So a lot of angles there that can help, but everything was in line. They were ready to buy. They were ready to move forward. The technology had been decided on. They just needed a partner to come in and help operate it. So we're not going to tell you necessarily, or you or your customer, hey, it has to be this brand of car and we have to drive it. That's not a requirement for Questflex. You can tell us the brand of car that they want to buy, and you can tell us that they want to drive the bus ultimately. But they need someone to provide that bus as a service and help them deploy that and help them implement it and then help them finance it, essentially. A lot of flexibility there. And we do that. I know I used that example of a firewall, right? We do that with every aspect of technology down to the cables that run through the wall. So if you have a client that's building a new campus, this throws a lot of people off because they kind of just dump it on the general contractor. Hey, general contractor, figure this out for me and, don't hurt me too bad with your subcontractors and your markup. Talk to the customer about their core IT assets when they're building out new environments. We can deliver all of it as a service, including the low voltage wiring, the access control systems, the video surveillance. All of that are just building blocks that can be delivered as a service. There's no reason we can't do a 200 drop low voltage build with multiple IDFs, powering APs, video surveillance, access control, digital signage, okay, personnel coming in and out, right? So managing who's coming in and out of the building, all as a service under a Questflex SLA. It's just hardware, software, and experienced people and labor, right? That's all it is. And then putting that together and mapping that to what the outcome they're looking for, you can totally change the game. You make competition, if you can get in that conversation, about what they're trying to do, competition's irrelevant. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter who else they're talking to. Doesn't matter how else they're trying to do it. People will try to copy it. They can't, right? I think, I don't know if it was Southwest or Bank of America or someone once said, you know what, I'll leave our strategy on the plane seat next to me. Doesn't matter. No one's going to deliver it. That resonated a lot with me because we've told this story to thousands of people. And we talk to people all the time. A lot of people don't go to that next step and actually deliver. And we do. We've been doing it for 20 years. We love it. It's a core part of our business and a core part of our way we differentiate. So again, budget friction, that's a fun one. The complex solution, the growth and expansion, helping people move quickly, and internal resource gaps. These are all kind of fruits of the same challenge, right? They got to move quick. They got to have a consistent delivery. We just worked with a partner yesterday on an awesome opportunity. He came to me and said, hey, these guys are building out warehouses. They have this type of engagement where people come in, they come out, and they need to understand it. They need cameras, they need wireless. You know, they went to one vendor for the cameras, they went to one vendor for the wireless, they went to this, and it was way over budget. You know, they want to spend X amount on the cameras, they want to spend Y on the wireless, and we got to get them some connectivity to these new builds. We came about it from the standpoint of, okay, well that's cool. What are they trying to do? They want to see people in the parking lot, they want to see people inside the warehouse, and they want to have distributed wireless across about 50,000 square feet of an environment and outside. No problem. We looked at the site map and we delivered a Questflex as a service offering, which gave them 5 years. I think we put 10 cameras in place, an access control system, and about 12 wireless access points to cover the environment. Included the cabling, included it from our infrastructure division, and delivered the whole thing as a service for a couple $1,000 a month, right? Fully managed, 24/7, 5-year plan, cookie cutter approach that they can take that, 10 by 12 environment, 10 cameras, 12 wireless access points, and they can roll that out across the next 5 sites. Now, that partner, we're engaging with them. Great story. I'm a sales guy. They're probably going to want to vet that out with some of our customers over the last 25 years that we've been doing this. No problem. We know we can do it. We've done it thousands of times. And bundling that together is something we help. But that was a growth and expansion. They wanted a cookie cutter. Hey, I need to do this 5 to 10 more times, and I need consistency. Cool, no problem. Here's how we put it together. The internal resource gaps. A lot of people want to be able to do these types of things at different locations, and they don't want people traveling to deal with it. We handle it. We handle the patching, we handle the updating, we handle the support, whatever it is. Again, any technology from the wire in the wall, all the way through the application. And it doesn't matter what the underlying infrastructure is. And then complexity is where we can, this is a no-brainer for us. And typically where we win a lot is when they have disparate systems, when they have, going through acquisitions, when they're going through mergers, and they need to wrap a Questflex SLA around infrastructure that already exists, and then migrate that to an as-a-service model as they go. Great opportunity there as well. So refresh, budget, They're growing fast and they need predictable outcomes. They have internal gaps where they need, they need that day two support and consistent delivery. And then complexity. If it's a tough one, Questflex can usually accommodate what they're trying to do. So how do you position it? It's an outcome conversation. So you do have to get curious and you do have to ask, hey, if you were trying to do this, if you looked at how would this be a successful project, help me understand what success in this project looks like. I was just talking to a real estate investment trust earlier today. They had about 100 residents that they were trying to deliver managed access to their facility. They wanted cameras at the access points, and they wanted consistent Wi-Fi for their residents. And they've been taking help desk calls, so they didn't want to take any more help desk calls from their residents to the front desk. They weren't technical people. They didn't want to deal with technical questions. So what we did was we put together a custom SLA for them that accommodated those needs. But we had to ask, what's your trouble right now? What's your pain point right now? And what would you like to see down the road? And then you build that. You build that with them, right? So if they're budget constrained around CapEx, if they're not getting the loan for the refresh, or they want to try to consume it as a service, sometimes this isn't an IT conversation. So if you're talking to the IT person or your typical buyers, sometimes Questflex is an arrow in their quiver to get what they want to have done, but you need to position it with them not as a outsource or outtask or MSP conversation. It's, hey, I know you want to buy these 20 new, Palo Alto firewalls, right? You love this new capability that they have. You truly believe in the architecture and the new systems that they've rolled out and the never trust environment that they have. Awesome. And they get fired up on it, but they can't afford it. So rather than saying to them, hey, why don't we bring in an MSP? Sometimes IT buyers are like, well, an MSP is going to take my job. It's not an MSP model necessarily. It can just be a platform as a service model. Hey, why don't we bring in Quest? They have relationships with these vendors that you like, whoever the vendor is, whether it's all the major ones and a couple hundred others that a lot of people maybe don't know about. They can come in and deliver this as a service, and they can stop the management of that wherever you want to take over responsibility. So if you have an IT person who's really into the speeds and feeds and wants to know everything and every configuration on their firewall policies or their multi-factor authentication or their Entra or their users or their AD, no problem. No problem. We'll deliver that platform as a service, and we can help them get out of that CapEx, budget cycle. Funniest thing I heard last week, organization got breached. They were fully breached. We came in, luckily they were using us for backups, so they hit the IR button. We came in, rebuilt them from scratch, right? Got their systems back operational, did some forensics and helped them figure out where they got hit and how they got hit. And we said, hey guys, there's 3 layers of your security you need to tighten up. And here's the areas where we can help you. Straight face. This organization, they do about $120 million in revenue. So legit company. They straight face came to us and said, yeah, thank you. We don't have the budget to make that purchase right now. We looked at that refresh 6 months ago with our value-added reseller partner. And we're going to hold off until we get new budgets opened up, coming up, later July and August. This happened last month. Now we could have just shut up and said, okay, well, that's, there's a hole in the gate and the fox is right outside the gate and your chickens are right inside the gate and you're going to wait 3 months and just hope the fox doesn't eat the chickens. That's what we're going to do. Okay. You could do that, or you could politely point out, hey, maybe you don't have the full budget to deal with this right now. But what if we brought in an organization that could deliver that capability that you're missing as a service? What budget do you have right now? So what we did was we said, okay, well, here's the layers of what you have. What budget are you hearing from your VAR partner that is challenging you right now? And they were told that, you know, they basically had to spend a couple $100,000 they didn't have. So we went to that VAR partner and said to them, hey guys, do you want to partner up? We'd love to work with you guys. You have a great relationship here. Can we deliver this with you as a service? So we capitalized the purchase. We're rolling it out right now. They had some issues around their firewalls. They had some issues around their email security, and they had some issues around multi-factor. So we bought those building blocks from this. We're just going to really throw you guys off, from the VAR partner that the customer trusted. Could I have sold those 10 ways from Sunday? And I've been doing this for 40 plus years and not know all of them, but know most of the tricks on how to get an OEM partner to tag me as their registered reseller. Yeah, you do that 10 ways from Sunday. But that's not going to keep me in that account with that partner very long. I'll be dead in the water. So what we did was we partnered up. We bought those assets from the VAR. We took them into our managed service offering, operationalized them across a 3-year model, and gave it back to that client as a service. Patched the hole in the fence. The fox now has to go down the road and look for another farmer's fence with a hole in it, right? And we gave them a model to protect the roost there for a little while. So there's all sorts of rules and things that we think have to be the way they have to be. It's not true. There's a million different ways to attack these problems. And what Questflex will do for you is gives you the ability to have those outcome conversations regardless of what kind of rules are in place that you think you have to abide by. They don't exist, okay? If a customer wants help, Questflex is an organization, Questflex and our organization, partnering with you as the trusted advisor, taking them through those technology decisions, can help you execute. I don't care what it is. And I know that can be kind of a big claim, but we haven't found one where if someone's willing to work with us and talk it through, that we can't help. We truly, truly believe we can help. And Questflex is one of our biggest assets and arrows to help. So the last one is execution. I think we've kind of talked about this a lot. Executing on that, delivering, focusing on that, delivering, documenting the rules, the expectations, managing the configuration, the tuning, the support. Technology is never done. It's never done. It's never slam dunk. It's never finished. It's always, there's no finish line in technology. So for everyone kind of, reaching for the gold ring there, it doesn't exist. There's no finish line, right? So you get involved in these things. It's a fantastic opportunity. You get really, really close with your clients and help understand what they're doing. Quick ways to start it. These are some areas, again, if they're modernizing their infrastructure and they need help upgrading their systems, Questflex can help. Who's going to own it at the end of the day? Who's going to manage it at the end of the day? Those are great conversations to have. The long-term conversation around, hey, I know you're about to spend, $150,000 on this new firewall or this new switch or this new wireless environment, or I know you're about to hit the go button on this, new ITSM package, right? You're going to buy Fresh, or you're going to buy ServiceNow, or you're going to buy, some Atlassian product or Jira or whatever it is. How is that being supported day 2? Have you gone through the refresh cycle of that environment before? How are you planning on patching that, updating it, maintaining it? Have you looked at the total cost of ownership when it comes to these types of things? When an organization buys a new piece of hardware, new piece of software, any IT investment that they're capitalizing. So I'm going to use round numbers here. $1 million. If they spend $1 million on a piece of hardware or software or an upgrade, multiply that by 3 times, and that's what they're going to spend on it over the life cycle of that asset. So if they're buying day one $1 million piece of hardware or a $1 million refresh, that asset is going to, at a minimum, cost them $3 million over its lifespan, in soft costs, in software costs, in refresh. Excuse me, not in refresh, but in management. So in labor, in operational support, in basically keeping that asset going. And you can look at IDC, you can look at Gartner, you can look at Forrester, you can look at any of the guys out there that do these types of analytics on capital expenditures. It's going to cost them at least 3 times what they pay day one. Questflex, managed services, bundling that together drastically changes that model. Okay, drastically changes that model. Oftentimes cuts it in half, if not more, over the 3 to 5 year period of time. Because that's what we do. We monitor, we maintain, we support, we have economies of scale that allow us to support assets for clients efficiently. People are still sometimes in these organizations building and managing their own power plants. It's funny, during the Industrial Revolution, going way back, factories, Carnegie, all the big guys, they would build their own power plants to support their factories. Kind of like when firms used to build their own data centers to support their operations. Now, we're going into the AI world, and for whatever reason, political issues are sparking up around power, which makes sense. And we're kind of going back to the concept of maybe these guys are going to start building their own power plants to support their factories for AI. That's kind of a full circle thought, but kind of fun. But organizations, they don't need to basically run their own power plants to operate their IT environment. They can use an organization like us to provide that IT as a utility. Now, they can still decide what to do with the power. We're just providing those infrastructure components as a service that they can decide what to do with it. They can manage it, they can patch it, they can keep it, they can make the changes that they need to make to it, and we can run it as a service. So, the long-term conversation, the capability, this has been going on a long time. We've been doing it for 20 plus years. Organizations are going through a phase 2 transition in the managed services world. And they're also going through that refresh cycle right now. So a lot of openings to help do this. Again, the timing, the refresh is going to get delayed by CapEx decisions. Organizations are growing quickly. You need to confidently let them know that you have a partner that can deliver their growth with them on a predictable model. You're talking to this IT decision maker. They want predictability, and they want someone who can deliver. And if they're growing, they need someone who can roll with them. Right? That's not a speeds and feeds conversation. That's not a detailed conversation around, hey, is this wireless access point, radio frequency, broadcast different than this, 5G, broadcast, whatever speeds and feeds conversation they have. No. They're rolling out 30, locations. They need someone who's going to give them predictable connectivity and predictable Wi-Fi and security performance. How do we do that? How do we scale? We can do that with the underlying infrastructure. We bundle the whole thing together and deliver it on a cost per site basis. Got to get in that conversation about what they're looking to do at the outcome, though. Their internal teams are overloaded. They have again, complexity drives a lot of Questflex opportunities. The more complex the situation is, sometimes you might be like, well, how the heck am I going to figure out someone who's going to come in and support, a Jira ITSM, help desk application, and at the same time, deploy resources, to deliver lifecycle management for their endpoints nationally. We just did a massive project like that, 2 months ago, where they were struggling with lifecycle management for their desktops and laptops and patching and supporting their end users with help desk, but they also wanted to keep their investment in Jira. So they didn't want to rip and replace their ITSM. No problem. We put a Questflex SLA together. What are you trying to do? What's your budget? Do you want to keep certain assets in your IT stack in place? What's the risk for that? What's the benefit for that? Let's put a contract together. Let's get flexible and deliver that with you. Again, one of the biggest areas that we got involved in initially in the Questflex conversation was, where do people want their assets deployed? Do they want them on premise as a service? Do they want them in a data center? So if we're talking about private cloud storage, CPU, and compute capacity, do they want that in a data center? Our first client, my first client that I worked with in 2010, we used to do these things called DR for the day. And DR for the day, anyone who knows Mike Dillon on our team, awesome guy, he's our CTO. We would fly into clients. This was a Texas law firm in Dallas. We flew in, met with them. They had Citrix, they had some specific law applications for their lawyers. They had document management. We went through the disaster recovery conversation, spent 4 hours. We would do this for any clients that wanted to do it. We would come in and do disaster recovery conversations, DR for the day. They were great. And like all of them, for the first 2 or 3 hours, this was even longer. This one went 4 hours. They had everything figured out. There was no pain. There was no issue. They were good. They had this system was redundant here. Their connectivity was redundant here. They had these things backed up here. It was all gravy. It was all looking good. The main leadership partners left the room. The IT director opened up to Mike and said, well, there's this one thing that we're dealing with. And they had a NetApp environment, and they were looking to get a replication going, but he couldn't get budget to buy a whole new NetApp SAN. This was 2010, 2011 timeframe. So, big NetApp, remember the NetApp, EMC, those guys duking it out, FlexPod versus VStack or whatever it was, I forget. So anyways, he couldn't afford to buy the new NetApp SAN. But he wanted to snap their environment from Dallas to a disaster recovery site. So we said, well, we can help you do that. We're a NetApp reseller. We can buy that and deliver it as a service for you and put it anywhere you want. Initially, we said, well, how about Las Vegas? We had some data center capacity in Las Vegas. And he's like, no, we don't want Las Vegas. How about Utah? No, I don't want Utah. How about over in Atlanta? No, I don't want to go that far. Finally came down to the fact that they said, well, we're a law firm in Dallas. We're all Texans. And the Texans on the line will realize it's not the Texans that moved from California, but the real Texans. Just kidding. They didn't want their data to leave the great state of Texas. So we said, okay, cool. Well, there's some great data centers down in Austin. We'll buy some space. We'll buy some power. We know how to buy the storage. We know how to replicate it. We know how to set that target for you. So we set up a Questflex SLA for a law firm to accommodate the IT director's goal of getting a snapshot of his environment to a separate SAN environment for DR purposes. But the owners didn't want to pony up the couple $100,000 it was going to be to buy that platform. But they were happy to do it for the couple $1,000 over a 3-year term, where Quest provided it as a service. We provide the data center, we provide the NetApp target, we provide the connectivity, and we provide the target, configured it, and basically, put that together. So that was a DR for the day conversation that led to a Questflex outcome. So a lot of great capabilities. Again, clients are looking for flexible ways to do things. You can change the conversation. It supports modernization. It supports platform as a service. Any layer of the technology. I'm only using the wire in the wall concept because a lot of people don't necessarily think of, hey, there's any of these IT assets, desktops, laptops, servers, firewalls, security assets, any software asset that they need, or data center, or even the wiring in the walls. Again, to beat that dead horse one more time, we can deliver it as part of as a service option. So these are awesome ways to get engaged with clients and see if they can do it in different ways. And again, it's going to support that day two ongoing management and support options. So if they're stalled on opportunities, if it's, hey, I'd like to do this, but I don't have budget for it right now. If you're stuck in like a red team, blue team, purple team, type of conversation on this vendor versus that vendor, sometimes it matters, sometimes it doesn't. And it's going to tie you in for the long term. So when things get complex, or when things get paused, or when clients are looking for a different way to do something, again, 70% of IT projects fail. So if you miss the boat, if they go out and they get sold the new, Ferrari, don't worry about it. Stay in contact with them. Check in to see how the maintenance operation and, if the wife's happy with that Ferrari. Maybe not. Stay around and, those things shift. 70% of those projects fail. There's going to be pain. They're going to need help. There's going to be opportunity there. And Questflex can help kind of transition that from a high failure rate environment to a capability-based service level agreement. Changes the game, changes the outcome. Big differentiator when you're working with Quest. So again, just some takeaways. It's a sales conversation, and it's not necessarily financing, but it helps organizations consume what they need. Okay, it'll help address the CapEx delays that you might be having from ownership, management, internal resources are clogging things up. It gives them a way to move that capability forward. We have flexible ownership options, flexible management options, delivering it as a service, meeting them where they want to be. And then again, that execution, that capability, service level agreement. Here, Mr. Customer, is your responsibility. Here's ours. We don't have little tiny font type of scenarios. It's very much plain English. Here's what we're doing, and here's what you're doing, and here's what it's going to cost you on a monthly basis. Very different way of lining that out. The ongoing tuning, management, support, huge opportunity there. So if you have any questions about Questflex, or you're like, hey Adam, what the heck are you talking about? This is crazy. Please engage your partner team. We'd love to put that together for you. I would love to kind of walk through some would you could you conversations. If you want to do a capability review, we can go through hundreds of examples of how Questflex changed the game and got us tied into managed service customers that we've had for the last 25 plus years. A couple guys on the team here, a couple of our sales reps have had managed service clients for well over 20 years because of Questflex. You got to have that conversation. You got to step outside the typical box of selling MSP or hardware or software subscriptions. But if your client's willing to have that conversation, total game changer, absolute game changer. So with that, I know we got about 1 minute left. Darcy, or Paul, you want to hop in here?
Yeah, for sure. We got 1 minute. Adam, you covered a lot, so that was fantastic. We don't have any questions. Again, if you do have questions, since we're running out of time, feel free. You can leave them in the chat. We will definitely get back to you through email. We'll reach out to you. You can always message us later as well. Darcy is going to be awarding the giveaway, the drawing. So Darcy, VP of Marketing, is here. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, today's winner is Larry L. I don't have the full registration sheet in front of me, but if you can just confirm in the chat that the email address you used to register is correct, we will get a nice digital credit card out to you, Visa, via the email today. So
great.
Awesome.
Congratulations, Larry. Yeah. As always, if you want to access this video later, because I know there's a lot of information in it, you can go to the Quest partner portal. Just go to questsys.com. You'll see the partner portal link. This bootcamp will be available, all the others as well. Lots of good stuff there. Our next boot camp will be on the 24th of June, and that will be on the incident response and risk management proactive solutions. You can register early. You can submit questions early as well, so Adam gets those answered. Again, yeah, partner portal, tons of resources there. We want to help you out. We're glad you're here with us. Adam, anything else I'm forgetting?
No, just, yeah, if you go to the partner portal, or if you're looking for any go-to-market playbooks around some of the services or things that you're hearing from Quest, we have some great assets put together for you guys. Again, we're building this program based on feedback from you as our partners. So we need feedback that'll help us make sure we're putting together what you need. But the turnkey marketing playbooks are ways for you to start the conversations that maybe you're not in today. Great assets in there that you can leverage. So go check those out too.
That's right. Yeah, the partner playbook's fantastic. So have an amazing week, everybody, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Everyone.